Time flies when you're eating, doesn't it, I guess? Well, thank you, and I hope everyone had a great lunch. It's now time for the formal program to begin. And we're fortunate to be able to hear from one of the nation's most respected military leaders as our speaker to kick things off. Lieutenant General Mark Bowman, the J6 Director of Command Control Communications and the Conference and Computers and Cyber Chief Information Officer for the Joint Staff. He's an old soldier. Mark's been around for a while. He has held command and staff positions at all the major levels that you would want to have. As I just mentioned, he is highly respected across the entire community, and we're fortunate to have him as our guest speaker today. So rather than cut in his time, I'm going to ask Mark to come up here and kick things off.
Good afternoon. What an honor it is to be here today, to be here with you. What a great event and a great venue this is. It's about partnership. It's about enterprise. And in that enterprise, it's about aligning the combatant commands, the services, the agencies, and the coalition members all on solutions that we can help get out there and get ready so we're ready when we need to be ready. Solutions under a common approach. Something like JIE, the Joint Information Environment, the MPE, the Mission Partner Environment, and things that in areas that we test them and work them through, such as BoldQuest. It's about leveraging IT solutions. We'll talk about a couple that we've leveraged, and then we'll finish up, if that's okay, with it's not just about technology. It's about the human element. It's about culture. It's about hygiene. We got to start out by strengthening our enterprise. And some would say we probably need to build it first. The Joint Information Environment, we've been talking about it for a long time. Too long. We should be doing more today. It demands that we have access to what we need when we need it. We're pressing hard to make this part of the Joint Information Environment a reality by 2020. We've got some of it today, but the progress is going a little bit slower than I would like. We've got to move towards a common architecture. We need that common architecture commanded and controlled by Cyber Command through Joint Forces Headquarters, Doden. And we need it to be right. So we're having significant discussions in the department about Cyber Command and it elevating to a combatant command, or how we do this with the relationship with NSA. Key to those discussions are the C2 of our network. It comes down to effectiveness and security. A lot of guys are going to talk about efficiencies. If we get this wrong, it'll cost us a whole lot more. There are too many people out there that see their portion of the network, their piece of their network, and address it as mine. Everyone is a steward on the same network, and it is ours. We need to improve the effectiveness by getting better at interoperability. That's issue number one for the joint warfighter. It's from the tactical level to the strategic level and back the other way. We've got to keep breaking down the stovepipes that exist out there. We need to have an end-to-end visibility. Speed is clearly a force multiplier. It allows us to seize the initiative, to be first, to understand, to do, to be ahead of the bad guy, and then to be able to react to the bad guy if we need to. But it's where you can concentrate your power if you can go fast enough. The faster we are, the stronger our enterprise will be. Part of this is something we've done with our networks forever. We install, we operate, we maintain, we defend. We've got to get very, very good at defending, much better than we are today. There's a functional requirement for any enterprise, and that's to defend it. We need to be able to defend it, and we need to be able to share interagency, coalition partners, and across DoD. The service cyber forces are all out working hard. They're all challenged. We're all challenged. We can't get through the pipeline quick enough, but if we each go our own way, train them differently, use different tools, we're going to create more gaps. Unique tools require specific training, specialized training, and people get culturally married to those tools. We need to stay away from those and operate as an enterprise. We've talked a lot about the Joint Regional Security Stacks. It is about security. We need to have that security end to end. Today we have over 1,000 endpoints. We're going down to 49. We have people with different capabilities based on where they are in their procurement cycle. Some would say Army is at 1.0, others would say others are approaching 2.0 and being where we need to be. No one is at 2.0 today because we can't share. We don't have a joint management system where we can manage it end to end. There are some capabilities out there that are better than others. We need to learn, adopt, and go. The Joint Regional Security Stacks are going to allow us to have unmatched access to sensor alerts. We need that. It'll allow us to have standard security platforms and operational tool sets that we use. It'll allow us to archive what happened. So if something happens, we can go back and watch it like a replay on a football game. Understand and train to it. We need to have that capability and we need to share. Bad news isn't going to get better with time. Everybody knows when there's an issue. The Joint Regional Security Stacks will also allow us to do better correlation between cyber activity and potential operational threats in the other domains. We need to be able to do that and do it now. The mission partner environment, we need to integrate the organic capabilities of our mission partners end to end in phase 0 today. Figuring it out on a battlefield is too late. We need to be able to do that in any type of environment, whether it be global combat operations or a disaster relief or a humanitarian assistance event. We've got to be able to work with our mission partners and build the strong JTFs that need to exist for success. The mission partner environment is a critical element of the joint information environment. We need those adaptable networks to be out there. We need them with our mission partners. We need to put them out there as a framework that ensures that we're interoperable. And those are built on trust. And you can't just develop trust on the fly. It's something that we build and work towards over time. In our recent combat operations, coalition partners in Iraq were around 6%. In Afghanistan, it was over 27% at one time. We need to be able to share that common operational environment end to end so that all partners know what's going on. The previous chairman in July talked about it in the National Military Strategy. And he highlighted in there the expectation of successful joint and coalition operations and the fact that those numbers are going to do nothing but increase. Budgets are tighter, the requirements and the resilience of the network is a must. In the cyber domain, it's in question. Commanders need to be able to hit the ground. They need to be ready. They need to be able to go. Again, we've got to be able to do it in phase 0, peacetime operations, if we're going to be successful. Creating that trust capability is absolutely essential. We need to be able to surge the networks, but it's impossible to surge trust if you don't build it over time. Training with our allies is absolutely critical. We just did Bold Quest. Bold Quest is an exercise. I call it an exercise. It's a coalition capability demonstration event. We signed a partnership with the Army and to combine at Fort Bliss and Holloman and to work through some interoperability challenges with our coalition partners. This past year, we had 13 coalition partners that came in. One of them was Norway. This is a pay-to-play event. Norway, by themselves, spent over $40 million to play. That's a significant statement. And then it was well over $80 million combined with the 13 partner nations, with SOCOM and the U.S. Army, and also the Air Force, the Navy, and the Marines. 7 partner nations achieved digital interoperability. So the Norwegians were firing, and so were the U.S. guys, and the forward observers were calling in calls for fire. 7 different nations, all on a common system, all with their own kit. Absolutely critical skill, something we need to practice and get right, because we're going to be fighting together. Some of my team that worked that event will be here Wednesday. I encourage you to go to their session, ask as many questions as we can. We're always going to get better. We need to continue to get better. One thing about this Bold Quest is the Norwegians at night at Fort Bliss were given orders to a ship off their coast and executed fires over HF from a command center that they had at Fort Bliss. They came at it and went at it really hard. Other partner nations saw that. We're going to get bigger commitment in the future. That network integration evaluation that the Army does, the Army Warfighting Assessment is what they're calling it, so they get away from some of the testing that's required. Tests are pretty rigid. Our going in position with Bold Quest is, hey, our partners came here to play with a specific objective. We are not going to change the baton order so that they can do something for U.S. Vice meet their requirements, unless it involves a safety thing, and then it'll be a discussion between us on how we're going to rearrange the schedule to get to that. It is about leveraging IT. It's not good enough simply to invest in new products. We need to leverage that investment in a smart way, to pick the winners, to go for it. We talked to some senior leaders in industry, and it was kind of fun to watch and listen to them. But one of them told us, hey, look, the next big technology isn't going to come from one of the big guys. It's going to come from a tier 2 guy that's going to have something that comes out and it's going to knock the big guy off. We need to be able to adapt when that happens. There are going to be significant changes in networking and other IT that we need to be able to adopt. And in my opinion, we need to build a little, field a little, fix a little, and go in that direction. We decided when we were at CENTCOM to do virtual desktop interface, thin client. Others decided to do it across DoD. That's a big thing for us because it saves money, but the biggest thing for us is security. Our goal was to get to 80% for both NIPR and SIPR on the Joint Staff. We've exceeded those goals. We kind of got pushed by the former Vice Chairman, and he said, hey, why don't you just go for 95% and forget about that? We have transitioned all the senior leaders to thin client, and the reason for that is definitely security. If we get a problem, we just restart the session and we continue from there. If somebody does something in the wrong environment with their current fat client, they're going to lose all their data and their hard drive. We believe in it. Others believe in it too. But there's a reluctance sometimes for some people to change. There's a reluctance to give up that box underneath your desk. It's all about patching. I asked General Shea when I was getting ready to go to the Joint Staff, and it looked like they were going to stand the J6 back up again. Hey, sir, I'm not understanding this. You're not the CIO there either. He goes, hey, you don't want that? That'll be a huge distractor. It's a huge distractor, mega huge. But it allows us to eat our own dog food first. So if we see something we like and we want to try it, we're going to do it. And then when we recommend it to somebody else, If it's good enough for the chairman, why isn't it not good enough for you? It's about patching those networks. There's a 21-day period where it's generally understood that it's good to get it done. But people do programs of assessment and milestones on that they can achieve those goals on putting patches in. It's not good enough. It is not good enough. We went around and somebody came and talked to us about a little company that would allow us network visibility. They came in and they showed us a network that they had permission to show us. It was a hospital network in northern New York. And they said, well, they got this process running, that shouldn't be running, let's just cut that off. And it was interesting how they could see the status of what they had for a system, which we can't. We would put in patches, and the contractor who's doing it for us, yep, we put them all in. Well, how didn't you know they all took? We don't find out until the following week. That is not good enough. So we got this demonstration, and then we said, hey, let's do a pilot. So we piloted it for a while. Then we had a meeting, and the question was, should we bring the contractor in here with us while we have this final decision meeting so they can answer questions? The answer was no. We sit around the table. There were about 12 of us in there that all had little aspects of using this technology, and we wanted to understand if it was the right thing to do or not. So to start the meeting off, who thinks this is a good idea? Raise your hand. My hand stayed down. Every hand went up. It's the first and only time I've ever seen a bunch of IT guys all agree on a particular type of software. The company we picked was Tanium. It allows us to see if our patches were taken in minutes. It allows us to see if an endpoint is in use. If a patch didn't take there and it's not in use, restart it. It allowed us to go from a self-assessment of okay, maybe good, to an excellent on a SAV, a staff assistant visit from Cyber Command and DISA. And typically when you get a CCRI, a readiness inspection, people get ready for them. They spend a long, long time just getting ready, checking. We had less than a couple of months with a product that we'd never played with before and ended up with an excellent. There's stuff like that out there that we need to buy and apply. The classified mobiles, there is a requirement for our senior leaders to have those. They need to have them so that when something's going on and they get a call from the White House and they're at their kid's softball game or a baseball game, they can just step off to the side and take it. Or if they're in a staff car heading someplace, they can take it. DISA has been working this pretty hard. We're on a second version of the newer one. We got rid of the Secteras. It's huge. It's not good enough. It'll never be perfect, and we don't care. We need it to be good enough to use, good enough for us to meet the requirements that we have today. So you can read your email on it. You can use it for a phone call. It's the right thing to do. We need to move faster. It needs to be an enterprise service. We looked around and we were looking down at SOCOM, and they did some stuff with in-route mission command so that the commander, while he or she is deploying, can have access to web, to chat, to email, and to voice, so that they can see the COP while they're in the air, the Common Operational Picture. SOCOM had something, so our guys worked with SOCOM, then they worked with 18th Airborne Corps, specifically the 82nd Airborne Division, got them a capability that saved them $30 million 5 years early. Those things are out there. We can adapt them, we need to take them, we need to push them, and share those experiences. But as initially said, technology is not always the answer. Recently, the SecDef and former chairman, 18, signed out the Cybersecurity Culture and Compliance Initiative, DC3I. And in there, it likens the network to a high-performance organization, to something like the nuclear community, where people are held accountable for what they do and they don't do on the network. Every bad thing that I can think of, every hack that we've had to our network that I can think of, I can relate back to human error. It's the human that did something or didn't do something. The human that clicked on something, the human that plugged something in that he shouldn't have plugged in. Every single one of them. We need people to take ownership of this. The network is a weapon system, and if we can't agree on that, we have to at least agree that the network is an integral part of every other weapon system that exists out there today. We need to start training in degraded comms environments like we haven't in the past. It's a requirement in every joint exercise to throttle the comms back, to work a little bit with restricted comms. In the paper today, I was reading that we got ships that are off in places close to big fiber optic cables under the ocean. We ought to be concerned about that. We've had anchors drag them up in the Middle East a couple of times. We've had other big outages. We need to be prepared to be able to operate in a throttled back environment, in a contested environment. We need to change the attitude of the people out there that they don't do stuff out of convenience or ease and put at risk our networks. Downloading that software, watching all this stuff on your computer, we don't need to be doing that. It eats up the bandwidth. I know that we've pushed to have kiosks and things like that out there for our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines while they're deployed. But there's a lot that's given away in those kiosks and a lot that's shared that shouldn't be shared. We need to operate our network with the same precision and diligence that we operate our weapon systems. We need to take a different approach at how we do this information assurance training. Everyone in here that's been in the military probably had more training on their individual weapon in their first year on active duty than they had for IA information assurance training for their entire 20-year career. You're required to go through some block of instruction that's about an hour long once a year, and people just want to click through it as fast as they can. They're not sad to hear what the answers were if somebody's talking about it in the bathroom either, so they can click through it even quicker. We need to pay much greater attention to this, and we need to put out much better training. The thing that is bothering me about our networks is that these guys are doing it at work, putting the network at work at risk. What about their personal life? What about at home? Why would they do that there? Would you put personal identifiable information like your social on your home computer? Why are you doing it on your work computer, or vice versa? There's great concern in my mind for what could happen in a cyber event in the future. We've seen what has happened with some little ones in the past, and then some that we could call pretty big. But it's a known fact that if we have an event and we didn't prepare for it, it'll cost us 7 times what it would have cost us to do it right from the first start. And that money is coming out of current year funds, now money. It's going to come out of something else that you were going to do, and we will fix the network. We need to work together to get it right. We need our industry partners to protect the environment that they have, because sometimes the bad guys are getting to us through you, and we need to protect your intellectual property just as well. This cyber is a team sport. I thank you for putting up with me a little bit here. I wanted to meet the guy that General Shea was talking about. I look forward to your questions.
Have you seen adequate progress in finding technology to solve the integration problem of joint operations? What area of technology is progressing, and what area of technology is lagging?
I don't think it's just, I don't think we can parse it by areas. I think the biggest problem is culture. And the second biggest problem is risk, deciding risk. So you got the IA guy, it's almost like going to see a lawyer. Hey, can I do this? No. the IA guy, can I do this? No, it's insecure. So we had an example where one of our big guys wanted to have a external drive, and the IA guy came back and said no. I said yes. We'll figure it out. There's TTPs out there, we can do it. There has to be a culture where we are willing to share, we are willing to change. So we don't always have the best solution. In the joint area, we don't have good enough interoperability amongst the services today. We could get a lot better. We still have the discussions. We're going to get to the security piece. We have to. But we still have discussions on, hey, I'm good enough right now. I don't want to put effort into this yet. I'm going to save my effort for when I'm going to be transitioning my stuff. The biggest concern I've got with regard to the security environment is we don't have enough people. Buying the equipment, we can do that. We've done it. Installing the equipment, we can do that. We've done it. Migrating stuff and getting people to agree that it's good and we can shut off the original system is tough. So to me, I didn't give you a specific answer other than I really think we got a culture thing that we got to bowl through. Next question, please.
Could you please describe the lessons learned from NIE 16.2 about the performance of the mission partner environment?
I'll touch a little bit on them. When I went down there for DV Day, we had a walkthrough, and it was interesting to me how everybody talked about the network. That's something that they didn't talk about in the past. It's something that we decided to change the approach on how we would do it. We decided that we were going to take a network engineer and put them on that program full time. They were going to develop the network. They were going to design it and work with the coalition partners as well as our joint partners and come up with something that worked, something that wasn't perfect, something that was good enough. So her name is Major Jill Klug. She is a national treasure. She worked with everyone. When we went through those stations where we learned about what different people were doing, I think that at least 80% of those guys were talking about Major Klug and the network. And the guys that were helping her out were a pickup team that she got in large part out of the 86th Signal Battalion that happened to be down there. She met with the battalion commander. Battalion commander came over and the two of them talked. There was a realization that, hey, this is great training. We're going to do this. What we learned is we need to play cyber in it a little more. So, and that's a discussion between at least a couple of nations, specifically the Norwegian general grabbed me and he said, hey, next year we're going to play cyber and it's bigger than we did this year. So our biggest lesson is we need to work on cyber. We didn't have any specific things that really wowed me other than the Norwegian using HF out of Fort Bliss and shooting off a ship that they had there. I mean, that was stunning. And we had been working a long time with the joint fires. It's all about joint fires and JTAC training. So we also happen to do, because JIFCOM was done away with, went away, we picked up some of the responsibilities. That's how we got Bold Quest. There's a lot of questions, hey, J6, why do you have Bold Quest? Because we do. It was given to us. Well, why isn't it in J7 with training? Because it doesn't need to be. Why would you guys, a bunch of wireheads, be doing this? Well, it's not. So we went and pulled the pedigree of every single guy that works Bold Quest. They're former fighter pilots, retired fighter pilots, and then we have a bunch of active guys as well. We got infantrymen, we got artillerymen, we got bombers, Navy nuclear guys, Navy SWOs, bunch of aviators from different services. They all get and understand C2. They've been doing it. So it's not a bunch of wireheads that are out there doing it. Those guys believe in what they're doing, and the partnerships that they've built with the coalition partner nations are stunning. If you ever are hanging around at Fort Bliss during a Bold Quest, that's something that you need to see. I would make I would go back there again in a heartbeat. I was absolutely stunned at the way the guys worked it and the partnerships that were there. And it's going to get even better. And the partnership with the Army was huge. The partnership with the FAA, there were hundreds of sorties that flew and thousands of sorties that were notional as part of exercise play. The coordination was never better with the FAA. You know, we had to tell the Italians they couldn't do something 2 bowl quests ago because we couldn't get it approved through the FAA. When the FAA came out and checked us out, they were happy with what they saw. Deconflicting all that stuff that's flying around in that airspace is tough. And if you get it wrong, there's going to be something bad wrong that happens. It went well, really, really well. So I left there, and that was the culminating event, culminating day. So my objective is to get an update to my boss the next morning. So I get a hold of the lead guy. I said, hey, where's my update? He says, I'm getting ready to hit send. He said, our last mission landed at 1900 last night. We don't send out any reports until we get them all back. That's a blinding flash of the obvious to me. I'm glad he did it that way. You don't want to send a report that everything's good and have something bad go bad. Next question, please.
Sir, what is the status of Joint Aerial Layer Network as a joint program, and is it moving forward?
I don't have a good answer on that. I don't. I probably ought to have a better one than I got. I don't have a good answer. To be honest with you, I think it's bumping along. But I don't have I really would like not to read that quote. Yeah, sorry on that one. It's a swing and a miss.
Okay, sir, next question. How will it be determined when CSFC is adequate security and when the risks warrant type 1 encryption?
Well, that's something we're working really hard. We got a smart guy that works with us. He said sometimes when you have a problem, you need to split the problem to make it solvable. My personal belief is that ops could be done with commercial encryption. We've done it in the past. We'll continue to do it in the future. Because quite frankly, if your encrypted comms aren't working and you're out doing a mission, you're going to figure out how to talk. NSA and IAD, Information Assurance Division, has made great steps forward. The adoption of commercial solutions for classified is absolutely the right way to go. We use netted iridium in Afghanistan, which is turning using a push-to-talk radio over the iridium satellite constellation. And we put it out there. We said, hey, we're not really interested unless you can tie it in with IP and turn it into a ripper net. We were able to make that happen. And then they're out there, the radios are out there, people are using them, and all we're getting back is negative comments. This isn't good enough, the screen's not big enough, the battery dies too quick, we need the buttons to be like this. So being a wise guy, meaning smart aleck, not smart, I said, okay, turn them in. Just turn them all in. They're not good enough, turn them in. Let's stop wasting time. No, we can't do that. Well, then tell me the good stuff. So one of the bright ideas that somebody had about the thing is it's not type 1 encrypted. No, it's not, and we don't want it to be. We want to be able to hand it to our coalition partner and say, hey, man, call me when you get there. That's the way it needs to work. So a call for fire, a medevac request, a troops in contact event, those are all perishable data that if a bad guy's able to break that commercial encryption at AES 256 or something like that, in 2 weeks, who cares? He's going to know that something happened within 2 weeks. There won't even be smoke coming out of that hole anymore. I think that the type 1 encryption ought to be saved for the plans. It takes too long to develop. The more you have it out there and the more it's used across the board for everything, more it is put at risk. I think that we're making big steps forward, and I also think that it's realized now that it's the senior leader that makes the risk decision, not the information assurance guy that says no. We, like the hooking the device up, that our IA guy said no, he just got overruled. I'm responsible. I'm making the decision. We're hooking it up. Next question, please.
Sir, we have time for one final question, and that question is, as you look back over your career, what was your greatest challenge, and what would you advise this audience to focus on to help build a stronger DoD?
I think I could, and I'm not a writer, but I could write a book on that. I think the challenges have changed. It's, our job's gotten a whole lot easier with senior leaders. Used to be, SIGO, get lost. SIGO, this ain't working. Now they care, they understand, they get it. There isn't a single senior leader that doesn't get and understand the value of IT. And then when you got the threat banging on us all the time, my biggest concern right now, and I think for my entire career, if I had to put it together, is cyber and the workforce. How do we get them? How do we retain them? How do we train them? There's not enough cyber experts to do all the cyber jobs out there today. There aren't. A couple of us started a couple of years ago with an intern program where we grab kids in ROTC in college and try to get them paying summer jobs. Turned out that long pole in the tent on that one was billeting. So when my daughter did her internship up in New York City, it cost $6,000 for her to live in a dump for 7 weeks, causing the kids to have to spend money on a place to live is tough. So what we were going to do is stick them in a barracks, but we just privatized all those, so you can't just do that. So we looked for guys in the area where we could, and it was a small school we were dealing with a small population. So there were 3 guys in the area we were dealing with. 2 of the 3 had commitments. One had to do some Navy training. Another one had to have shoulder surgery, and the third one was available. We got him and hired him and paid him for the summer. So the goal was to build the program the following year, and Gary Martin took the thing over. He wanted to get 100 guys. He got 80 of them. We need to build that workforce. And it shouldn't matter whether they're on active duty, whether they're in the Guard or reserves, or whether they're full-time in industry. We need to be partnering together. And if we can get that guy who's in the Guard and reserves and then work them in to our sessions, I think the success that we will see will be huge, absolutely huge. My biggest concern is the cyber talent. And the way we do our contracting is not the brightest. So we go hire a bunch of level 1 guys. Half the stuff they fix is stuff they broke. And by the time they get good at it, they leave and go get more money from somebody else. Or we change our contract and the good guys get hired by the new guy and get paid less. You know, if this is that important, we got to figure out a better way to do this. Maybe the better way to do it is to hire just level 3 guys. Pay them 2.5 times what you pay a level 1 guy, hire a third of them, and have more uptime. I think that the challenges are out there, and let me just finish with one more thing. Our procurement, the way we buy IT, the way we buy a tank, doesn't match. The way we have these long programs that are drawn out for years with requirements, how many Moore's Law cycles do we have to go through before we decide, hey, we made a mistake here? We have to get better at being able to buy a little, field a little, fix a little, and to change. I thank you so much for your questions, your interest. I look forward to talking to you in the future. Thanks.
That was our final question for General Bowman. Now please welcome General Bob Wood back to the stage.
Well, it's a great pleasure. General Bowman has been just a tremendous supporter of our military, of the Joint Force, and I would point out of AFCEA. So if you allow me just a moment, I'd like to get a picture of the 2 of us shaking hands on behalf of Bob Shea and AFCEA and thanking him. I have one other presentation to make after that.
That picture of me straightening my hair is common.
Also, I'd like to welcome to the stage Colonel Russ Smith, who is from the Pelican Chapter AFCEA. He too has a presentation for General Bowman.
Thanks, sir. Sir, on behalf of the local Tampa St. Pete Pelican chapter, we'd like to give you this gift. It's actually the very first AFCEA chapter coasters for your presentation today, sir. So thank you very much. A little more swag for your bag there.
Appreciate it, Russ. Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Mark. And on behalf of Wounded Warriors, we will also make a donation in your name, sir. Well, listen, let me orient you a bit now as we're about ready to launch into the rest of the program. The floor will be open when you return. We're very happy as ever to welcome and thank our sponsors who make this entire event so possible, and to our exhibitors who continue to grow as they bring technology solutions. We ask you to pay attention to them. Let me point out a couple things that are new in the MILCOM setting. The first is over here behind you to your left is the Government Outreach Pavilion. We have heard again and again we'd like to extend the conversation between our government, its procurement officials, the PMs, the PEOs, and industry. So we said, got it. So we have structured a very specific space back here called the Government Outreach Pavilion. It too has a theater, and in that theater we'll be having government reps making presentations to you so you can ask them questions. We have breakout areas provided. We have rooms you can sit down and talk, and it's meant specifically for the conversation that you're looking for. I would point out that Bold Quest, you heard General Bowman talking about it, Bold Quest is featured tomorrow, and the people who just finished that program and execution will be here presenting what they have on the floor presently, but also presenting the solutions and capability needs they need. That will be here. SOCOM will be presenting some small business opportunities as well. Check the schedule. By that, you'll also find more information. There's a MILCOM theater in the back corner. We're bringing the technology from the wings down to the floor, and we're having some great presentations put together by technical panels that give you the front edge of science and technology as we are seeing it now. This afternoon, our next presentation will be at the MILCOM Theater at 2 o'clock. It'll be on Department of Defense C4I Community of Interest and its key topics in C4I. Looking forward to seeing that and seeing you there. We will begin the technical program tomorrow morning, but it will continue today from 2 to 5 p.m. Papers, presentations, tutorials, and panels. And in this room, the next plenary panel in this room is at 3:30. 3:30, it runs to 4:45. It's a particularly interesting aspect of future of science and technology and cyber, moderated by Dr. Bharat Doshi from Army SURDEC. Okay, there's a welcome reception tonight. At this point, I'll tell you there's dessert on the floor. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. Look forward to having a great show with you, and we'll see you on the floor. Thank you so much.